Hello, everybody. Happy Labor Day weekend. Thanks for joining my YouTube channel, Home Savvy Central. I'm in Anaheim Hills, California. If you haven't seen me or heard about me or my channel, my name is Mike Patel, First Team Real Estate, Anaheim Hills, Orange County, California. I'm glad you joined me. Today's a holiday. I decided to keep this show on as my schedule is Monday at 2 o'clock. I may be switching it at 4:30. I'm not sure yet. But right now it's at 2 p.m. We have an exciting topic today. I also have a guest joining us shortly. I will bring him online as soon as he comes online. Our topic today is there a housing collapse coming? We are also going to talk about what has happened in Florida. In Florida, a lot of homes have canceled. Up to 56,000 homes fell out of escrow, fell out of the contracts, or the transactions did not go through, which is the highest number of fallout in any June to record. So that's a big number. And also talk about what's happening in the Florida market because of the property taxes and insurance. But overall, we want to talk about what's happening on the market. Is there a collapse coming? Some say yes, it's coming. Some say no, it's not coming. So we will discuss that. We're also open to any questions that you might have. Feel free to ask us any questions, make comments, and you can put in the chat your questions. So before we go further, I wanted to bring online our guest. Let me bring him online. Hello, everybody. This is Kiran Vedantam. He is in Phoenix, a fellow real estate professional. Kiran, like I said, is in Phoenix. He's been in business does mortgages nationwide. He has his own real estate office, mortgage office. He does commercial. So Kiran is a very well-versed individual, a professional. He knows not only what's going on in Phoenix market, but he's aware of what's happening nationwide, how the Phoenix market or the California market affects the Florida market, etc. So we will talk about that too. Also, Kiran is also an author. So Kiran, give us a few seconds of who you are, because I just got to know you. It's been a pleasure to know you. And as I get to know you more, let the audience get to know you more, and then we'll jump into our collapsing topic today about real estate.
Mike, I'm so excited to be part of your YouTube channel. Your enthusiasm is really infectious. I'm so happy.
Go ahead, Kiran. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I can hear you fine. Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? You are just stalled. I don't know what happened.
Good.
Can
Yes.
you hear me fine?
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Mike, I was saying that I'm
Good.
very excited to be part of your channel and your show.
I can hear you.
Especially on the Labor Day weekend. You chose a day that's a holiday. Still, we both are sitting here and watching the market. I'm in the office and I get a call from you saying, would you like to be part of the show? I don't know if I lost you. Did I lose you? Mike, I lost you. I don't know what happened. I see myself online, but I don't see you.
Yeah,
Let me give it a second. Okay, Mike, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I don't know what happened. I think I pulled a wire or something. So sorry about that.
That's okay. That's okay. So what I was saying is, you and me on a Labor Day holiday, we both are sitting in the office watching the metrics of real estate. How weird can it be?
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Talking about myself, I've been based in the Phoenix metro area for the last 2 decades. I've been totally engrossed in real estate. I own a real estate brokerage. We have a team of agents. Then we also have a mortgage company. We are licensed in multiple states, California, Florida. Then of course Arizona. We are in Washington area.
Okay.
Then on top of it, we do commercial loans throughout the country. So uh, I hope you pick the right guest because I have a lot of insight on what's happening in the market, and I'm very excited to share it with the audience on the show.
Perfect. Okay, so let's get started. So what I'm going to do to get started is give some facts based on research. So I'm going to share a screen, read out a paragraph, and this is for the audience as well as for you, Kiran. So we'll just go along. and then we'll talk about, I have some slides, so we'll discuss those slides, and then hopefully we'll get some questions. Anytime we get a question, we will try to answer those questions as well. So I wanted to quickly share a screen and read a paragraph, so just bear with me. Okay. There you go. So this is a screen from US News. This report just came out a few weeks ago, and I'm going to read out what's happening in the market. This paragraph here, it says the housing market continues to defy gravity and set record high sales prices. In the past, when mortgage rates rose, home prices would decline to maintain affordability. Today, however, with so many existing homeowners locked into their existing low mortgage rates of 4 to 5% or below, there have not been sufficient incentives to move elsewhere, keeping home inventory low and prices for now, and high prices for now. Furthermore, as I keep reading this, there are several factors now in play which may conspire to start thawing out this semi-frozen market, including the rising cost of maintenance as the climate warms, steeper property taxes, which typically track higher housing values, aging baby boomers who may not physically be able to continue living in their large multi-story suburban homes, growing families outgrowing their existing spaces, plus the usual forced sales that come from death, divorce, and death. So that's a lot of information that we have. So my topic today was, is the housing market collapsing? We hear on one end that the market is collapsing, and I'm going to talk about what's happening in Florida. But based on that facts, Kiran, what do you think is happening? Are we coming to a collapse in the next few months, next few years, or is the market still gung-ho? What are you seeing?
See, the real estate market, at least in the Phoenix metro, I'm seeing that it's been stuck in neutral for a while actually, because both the buyers and sellers, they largely seem to be staying on the sidelines, and often for the very same reason, interest rates, right? The sellers wanting to move, for them it's very hard to swallow the fact that they have to move out from the 3% or 4% mortgage rates that they're sitting on. So they don't want to really move, and also they don't want to take a chance and put the home on the market because they are hearing that the interest rates are very high. Now on the buyer side, we've seen that the rates, they almost dropped a full percent compared to where we were in April. We were around 7.5, now it's at 6.5. So buyers may be surprised that a 1% drop in rates, the effects of payments is humongous. But this is what it is. The buyers, they are anticipating more rate cuts. And because of that, what they are doing is they are in a stall mode. They just want to wait until the rates come down further, because they're hearing a lot of news from CNN, CNBC. Everybody is talking about rate cuts and the proposal that the rate cuts might be more coming this year. And also, we always have hear a talk about during the election the interest rates come down. Because of all this news, I feel like the buyers are in a stall mode. It's not like we don't have buyers in the marketplace. So that's why, to answer your question, are we in a collapse mode? I don't see that happening in Phoenix, because I know buyers are there, because our phones are ringing. Buyers are inquiring about interest rates, and they want to wait until the interest rates come down. They really want to wait to see what will happen with the election. So because of that, it's been stuck in neutral. I personally don't think in the pockets like Phoenix Metro, wherein there is a lot of people moving in, we are not going to see any collapse here, because of the demand is still there, and the supply is going to be tough. The supply is tough because sellers are not convinced to sell their house holding a very low mortgage interest rate of 3%. They want to somehow become forced landlords in this.
Right. Absolutely right. And you're right, because of the low interest rate, 3%, 4%, you're a mortgage, you do loans as well. So I'm sure you've done a lot of refinance. So at one point, the sellers don't want to sell. At the same time, if the sellers don't sell, that's another buyer that's holding up, because until he sells, he cannot become a buyer. So one, the buyers don't want to buy because they're holding. And I want to talk further about the mortgage that you mentioned in September. But on the other hand, if the sellers don't sell, because sellers become buyers, so we're losing not only the first time home buyer pool, but the pool, which is huge, where let's say if I sell my home and I've been here for 25 years and want something smaller, or want to move near my kids, or move to Hawaii, I wish, then I'm not moving because I have 3% interest rate, which I do. I have 3% interest rate since 2016, and I have a 15-year loan, and I'll be paid off in 4 years. So I'm not going to move anywhere, you know. But going back to the interest rate, and I'm asking you this question, I wouldn't ask another guest, but I'm specifically asking you, Kiran, because as we know, the Feds have mentioned many times. You mentioned CNN and other news channels mentioning interest rate cuts. What's your gut feeling? One, are they going to reduce the rate, which they said they will? But being a mortgage broker throughout the nation, if they do cut, two questions. One, if they do cut the interest rate, how much will they be? And what will be the impact to the buyers? And of course, this is a question that's a loaded question, but what do you think?
See, this is the most important thing that the buyers have to realize. The interest rates are not going to go down to 3%. So that is the most important thing that we have to underline and set the right expectations with the buyers, that you'll never see the interest rates that probably is stuck in your memory because either your friend has got it, your uncle has got it, that they have 3% rate. You cannot anticipate to see the same interest rates coming anytime soon in our lifetime, I would say. But with that said, we are anticipating that the interest rates are going to come down because obviously the inflation has been very high, and that's why the mortgage interest rates have been kept very high. We are seeing the inflation slowly coming down, and with that we know that the mortgage interest rates are also going to go down. With that said, the buyers, I would say, should not anticipate dramatic interest rate cuts for them to decide to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Let me
Right.
say it in a different way. I would not advise the buyers to wait for an interest cut so that they can decide to buy. Why do I say that? If the interest rates are cut and if the mortgage rates happen to slide down, there will be lot of interest in purchasing again. So the market will be flooded with so many buyers. No, now we know the balance between the supply and the demand. Now, suddenly, even though the supply might be the same or similar, because remember, sellers are not really getting motivated to put the home on the market because they have to come down from three, while buyers are watching the interest rate. So now suddenly there will be a lot of buyers in the market. So with that, it seems like the demand is higher. So when the
Right.
demand is higher, prices are going to inch up. So buyers would be expected to not only compete with other people, but also they are having to make sure that the selection gets limited. So my advice to buyers is I wouldn't really count on big drop in interest rate for you to decide on buying, because if the interest rates really go down,
Mm-hmm.
then you can always refinance. If they don't go down, then fine, you're at least you logged in a price for the house and you can continue to live in that house.
Right, correct. Right. Okay. And I understand that. And one of the slides I want to show you, to your point, two things. One, I'm going to add this slide here. If you look at it, we were talking about the prices. Right now, if you look at the prices, the medium home price in USA is $434,000. What is it in Phoenix? Do you know what your medium price is in Phoenix?
Yeah, if you look at the overall Phoenix metro, there is a lot of smaller submarkets in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, if you look at Scottsdale is a much expensive market compared to, let's say, Chandler or Gilbert. So somebody talking about the median price in Arizona or Phoenix for that matter is not rational because the price difference is
I see.
dramatic. But the
Right.
median price, I would say, in the most popular market is around 50,000.
How much? I'm sorry.
350,000.
Okay. And the reason I bring that point out, Kiran, is that the medium national, this is a national figure, is 434, as you can see on the slide. California is around $900,000. Where I am in Orange County, Anaheim Hills is at 1.25, and Orange County is probably at $1.3 million. And I'm sure New York is the same way. New York is probably higher. Bay Area is almost 1.8, 1.9. These are, you know, entry-level homes. These are not even great homes. They are just medium homes. So with my point is, with the prices so high, and I'm going to show you another slide. I'm going to take this out and add another slide. If you look at this slide here, the interest rate, and then I'm going to show you another slide, and I'm trying to put things together. We have the high interest rate. Let me go back to this slide. In 2019, the median home price was around $250,000 or $300,000. If you see on the left where my arrow is, I don't know if you can see that. But as we go along in 2020, 2021, including the pandemic years where the prices dropped slightly, but look at 2021, 2022 went up to 400, and we're at 2024. It's at 434,000. I wish this slide showed what the house prices were in 2011. They were probably half the price. But let's go back to this interest rate here. I'm going to take this slide out and add this interest rate. Let me see here. And I bring it up because if we go back to 2019, what you were saying in 2021, the rates were 3% right there. Mid 2021, 2022, they were at 3%. 2019 was around 4.5%. We were at peak almost 7.8, and we're down to almost 6.5. The point I'm trying to bring is right now the rates are high, the home prices are high, and I'm going to talk about the other cost. How can people afford these homes? Because that's the complaint. The biggest question I get is, Mr. Realtor, how can people afford homes? I cannot afford it with the high home prices and with this high interest rate. Why is there so much activity? You know, as a broker, when a home comes on the market, there's not a lot of multiple offers, but they're still out there. Homes are still selling at listed price or above or very slight below. What's going on here? Where are people bringing money, or why is there still activity?
See, I want to bring up a very unpopular argument into this. What I feel is the way the economy and the system is set up is home buying is not for the poor people anymore. There has been this concept of American dream that has been sold to everybody, that everybody should be able to afford a house, right? And that is not true anymore. The way things are going, homes and real estate are becoming just like how it is in Singapore, or you see in London, the entire UK and Europe for that matter, wherein real estate is for the rich and famous. When I say famous, they don't have to be celebrity, but it is very expensive. Even if you look at Asia, Hyderabad, Bombay, Delhi, real estate is very expensive. When you look at the median income that people are earning and the way the home prices are, there is no way people can afford it on paper. But still, transactions do happen. Who is really buying these properties? The people who are buying it are people who are either having their parents help them, they get some inheritance, or they are in a really high paying jobs. People who are in the blue collar workforce, they are pretty much forced out to go to sub metro areas. So suburban areas is where most of the blue collar or middle class or lower middle class people are pushed to already. Like, for example, right now, people from California are pushed out to Arizona just because, like you said, the median price in California is so high. People can't afford it anymore. Only people who are in high tech jobs, who are CEOs, who have inheritance, who have businesses, those are the people who are able to afford. So, talking about affordability in real estate, buying a mortgage in prime areas is a forgotten dream for Americans, unfortunately.
Absolutely, yeah. Here's another fact, and I use that in my last live stream as well. The average home price is around 430,000 in USA. The average household income in USA is under $80,000, right? To buy a $400,000 home, $430,000 home, you need to make, and when I say you, the household needs to make $110,000. So if an average household makes $80,000, how can they buy an average home? They can't. That's where the problem is. The second problem is, let's look at this slide. I'm going to add this slide here. For one, they cannot afford to buy a house. And let's say you mentioned, and you're very right, a lot of money is coming from inheritance. I've sold about 3 homes this year, 3 condos, to two single ladies and one single guy. They put $200,000 down each on average, and the mom and dad gave the down payment. They did not have the money. So you're absolutely right. There's a lot of inheritance money coming in. But going back to the high home prices, high mortgage prices, we know going to restaurant, I've cut back going to Starbucks. I've cut back going to restaurants. I've cut back going to fancy shows in general because everything's expensive. Gas prices are expensive. Utilities is expensive. In California, we are lucky that our property tax is 1.1% on average, which stays pretty stable. But I know Texas and some other states, they've really gone up very high. Florida is with an insurance crisis going on right now. Insurance in California as well. Some insurance, homeowners insurance, which is required by the lender, they've doubled and tripled. But then you add your gas, your electricity, your food, your water, your school supplies. Everything's so expensive. If you look at this chart here, it says share of mortgage payments and maintenance cost. In March of 2020, let's see, the maintenance was $1,200 on average. An average mortgage payment was $1,100. So the total cost was $2,313. In 2024, the mortgage payment is $2,278. Maintenance cost is $1,500. So the change is almost $300 per month. That's a big increase for somebody who's making 20, 30, 40, 50 bucks an hour, not doing overtime or not getting any bonuses. And so there's a big change. Have you seen that in Phoenix as well? Or what do you think about this slide that affects the affordability?
Yeah, it's so ridiculous that a lot of us being in the industry, we try to actually match people to what they can afford. But when you look at the people who are coming to the office to buy the homes, they don't have big incomes, they don't have big bonuses, they are just normal hardworking people. So their expenses have dramatically increased in the last few years, while the home prices also appreciated dramatically. So did the mortgage rate. So it's not possible for us professionals to try to match people to the right home in the towns that we know are very well, very comfortable for all these families.
Right.
So inflation has really gotten a big bite into their maintenance expenses, but
Right.
mortgage rates being so high has been the biggest killer for most of the families trying to afford. In Phoenix, this is what we are doing. We are pushing people out to Queen Creek and Florence, which is at least 35-40 minute drive from the main areas that people used to like.
Mm-hmm.
That is the only solution. That
Right.
is that, and lot of people who commute every day, they've been looking for telecommuting jobs. So with that, they are able to save on gas and actually coming into town. They are all working outside
Right.
and they're buying homes that they can afford the payment. And all these suburban areas have been booming in Phoenix. When you look at the inventory, there is lot of transactions happening in the suburban areas.
Right.
um, we have a lot of migration also coming from California, New York, and the East Coast. A lot of people are moving to Arizona. So all this activity is coming. I mean, it's just a matter of time. Arizona will be as expensive as, maybe not as California, but at least it's going to increase
Yeah.
very soon.
Right.
But at
Right.
least the way it is sitting right now,
Right.
the people who are able to afford in Arizona are only able to afford outside the cities,
Right.
not in the prime areas.
Right.
People who are buying in the prime areas are the ones with inheritance, who own a business, and who are really high income earners. So all these high net worth individuals are able to afford in the cities. Rest of the people are there. We
Right.
don't know when the interest rates are going to come down. We don't know when the inflation is going to come down. But it's just a matter of time that people have realized that they cannot afford real estate anymore.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And so I want to get to the next point, talking about the collapse, which is our main topic. So I wanted to mention to you that, I mentioned earlier that there's 56,000 homes canceled just in the month of June. Most of them were in Florida. So let's look at those numbers so that we get in perspective. Okay. First of all, in Orlando, 900 contracts canceled. This is just in June. In June, 20%, 20.8% of all the homes in contract canceled. In Jacksonville, number two, 20.5% of all the contracts canceled. Tampa was 20.5%. Las Vegas, which is number four, was 20.2%. And then the fifth top state or city where home contracts canceled was 19%, which is on average 20%, which is a big chunk, which means 1 out of 5 homes canceled in June. And this has been the highest factor, almost 15% nationwide, where homes canceled. What do you feel, in your opinion, is the cause of that? And is this an indication for a slowdown, for a collapse, for a market crash? And the reason I ask this question is, and I'm sure you've heard this question, I've heard this since 2021. Mike, when is the market going to crash? Mike, when is the market going to crash? I've heard that every year, every 6 months. My good friends, my good buddies, I've told them buy, buy, buy. They said, no, we'll buy when it's going to crash. I've been hearing that since 2021. So now that home prices are high, interest rates are high, maintenance costs are high, property tax are ridiculous, insurance are ridiculous, we're seeing data that there's a slowdown, whether they're waiting for interest rate or whether they're waiting for market crash. The fact shows that there's a 1 in 5 canceling. What's going to happen? What do you see happening with that? That's the big question. As a consumer, think like a consumer, you know.
No, I echo some of the sentiment that you have raised. Even in the Phoenix metro, the active listings, they have increased by about 50% in the last 12 months. Just in the last 6 months, there has been an increase of about 13%. Just the inventory. So the supply has been going up. The demand is softened. If you go back to the initial statement that I made about why the buyers are in a pause state, the buyers want to buy, but the buyers are skeptic on the current interest rates. The buyers are skeptic with the combination of higher interest rate along with the price that they are having to pay, if it's going to be sustainable. They are also thinking about affordability. They are just not sure if they can afford the payment, even though emotionally they want to buy the place. So all that is having the buyers to pull back a little when they are seeing all this news about it.
Correct.
Now, there are some pockets even in Phoenix. We have to look not just at the cancellations, not just at the overall inventory, but we have to look at the microeconomics as to what is happening in different towns, in different parts of towns, because this microeconomy actually, I feel like it runs the real estate market more than the big national numbers, because
Right.
what you're talking about in Florida might have no impact on me selling a home in Scottsdale, Arizona, because in Florida we have a lot of issues with insurance that is happening there. But in Scottsdale there is no problem with insurance. They are
Right.
just trying to make sure that the roof is old enough, then they are renewing it, and the insurance hike has is not as dramatic as you see in California or in Florida. So that's why I would say market is not going to crash in areas where there the economic activity is very high, and also you're seeing lot of migration. People are migrating into states like Texas and Arizona, and people are migrating out of states like California and Florida because of affordability,
Correct.
opportunities, lot of economic activity.
Right. Right.
So if we hear, I mean, the buyers are also confused when they hear, oh, this market is going to collapse and all that, but where is it collapsing? Is it collapsing in Florida or California or Arizona and Texas? So we have to look at each city separately,
Right.
and we have to look at what's happening in that area and then make a decision whether it is really adjusting or not. But I would say overall the sentiment is uniform throughout the country.
Right. Okay.
Problem with affordability, that's number one. Then news of this insurance really going very very high, and property taxes are going very high. People worried about affordability. So all these factors are going to force people to migrate out from where they like to live.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So on that point, I totally agree. We give you national numbers. You know, I could care less what's happening in Florida because it's not going to affect my California market. But on that note, two things. One is that if you are a viewer live, and I see a lot of live people, thank you for watching live. A lot of viewers will be on my recording. So, two things. One, please make a comment on what's happening in your neighborhood or ask questions, and either I or Kiran will answer your questions. And if you want to find out whether you're trying to buy or sell or want to wait or just find out what's happening in your local market, we have a database. I have a database of all the top agents who are up to date on this market, who are top 1 to 5% nationwide. Let us know and we'll refer you to a top agent. Even if you just want to talk about, hey, what's happening in my town or my neighborhood or my county, and keep that in mind and drop a comment below. We'll be able to help you. So on that note, I want to move on. But Kiran, you mentioned inventory, and inventory is a big thing. So let me bring this slide up on what's happening with the inventory. Of course, if you look at 2019, the inventory was almost 4 months supply, which means that if no homes come on the market in 2019, it took 3 months or 4 months, more than 4 months to sell a home. Back in 2022, homes were selling, I would say, in 2 hours, let alone 30 days. In California, they were selling in 2 hours. But right now, the inventory did go high in 2024. It did go up, but it's still down a little bit, but it's less than the peak. If you look at the peak, it's still low inventory, but it's higher than 2021, 2022, and 2023. So is this a trend? Of course, every month is different. Christmas time, on states, inventory is down because there's snow and all that. But overall, the trend is still inventory is rising. I heard a report last week. I read the report that overall the nationwide inventory is up 36%. So how impactful is inventory and housing supply to the home prices? Right now, it's showing that there's a 2.3 months of supply nationwide. But like I said, pockets are different.
Yeah, I mean, not only the inventory, we also have to look at the price reduction.
Mhm.
Inventory has been growing up. Even like I said, our inventory in the Phoenix Metro overall, it has grown by almost 50% in the last 12 months.
Okay.
On top of that, we talked about contract cancellations, and then we are seeing more and more price reductions. Price
Right.
reduction because people who are on the market right now as a seller, these are the sellers who have to sell. Sellers who are able to hold on to the property, who are financially sound, they are not even putting the home on the market because they're
Mhm.
enjoying the 3% interest rate. They know they're never going to get that interest rate ever again. So all the sellers who are on the market, either they are going through a separation, they are either relocating, or they have to move to some other area of town because of employment, or whatever reason it is, they have to sell.
Mhm.
Those are the people who are on the market as sellers. So all of these factors put together, if I see right now, in this August to 2024, we are seeing the inventory grow dramatically. Buyers are not in a hurry to make an offer because they feel with the affordability equation, home prices are going to stay flat. They might not go up as dramatically. Even if there is an appreciation, they are thinking that okay, it might appreciate maybe 2 to 3%, but not too much. But
Mhm.
they are hoping that the interest rates will come down. So
Okay.
this buyer sentiment is going to kick in slowly. It's not going to, as soon as interest rates drop by 1%, buyers are not all going to jump in. I've
Right.
noticed that even it happened before when the rates come down, it takes a few months of emotion for the buyers to jump into the market. So that is yet to
Okay.
happen. It will happen later this year because the interest rates are coming down. I see all the news outlets very actively monitoring interest rates. They are pumping out news about interest rates adjusting as soon as they see a little bit dip, and all that is going to warm up the buyers. And I'm confident that Q4 of this year we'll see more transactions happening, the inventory coming down a little.
Right. Okay. So the interest rate does have a big impact. We know that it knocked out a lot of buyers, and I feel sorry for them because we want not as just agents, but as human beings, we want people to buy the house. If it's their dream, an American dream, buy a house. And you mentioned earlier, a lot of the people's dream is getting out of reach because it's just getting too expensive. It's like Japan, New York, Bay Area. You just can't touch it unless you make $300,000, $400,000 in the Bay Area. don't even think about buying a house. It's $2 million is your starter home. My friend just bought a house for 1.895 or something like that. It was a fixer house. Imagine that, a fixer. So it's ridiculous. But I wanted to bring out this thing, this slide over here. It talks about delinquencies, and I'm going to read it out and then we can discuss about it. It says here, and this is from US News, came out. The source is Black Knight, by the way, for this data. It says that the average mortgage rates for a traditional 30-year fixed rate loan, which dipped as low as 2.7% in December 2020, rose to an average of 7.62% in October 2023, but by April had fallen to 6.99%. They are currently averaging under 6.9%. So when we look at, hey, people are not buying, people are canceling escrows, they can't afford homes, everything's expensive. If you look at the delinquency rate, it went up sky high in 2020 because of COVID, according to this chart, right? But they're still low. So there are a lot of people talking about, hey, market's going to crash, market's going to crash, market's going to crash. When we look at the data, delinquencies is people who are getting behind on mortgage payments. It's still at historic lows. I mean, how does this make sense?
Mike, I've been through the meltdown of 2008, 2009, wherein home prices in Phoenix have dropped to half. People who bought a home for 500,000, now the same home is being sold for 250,000.
Mm-hmm.
People were not hurting with the job. They had enough money in their bank, but the delinquencies rose. The delinquencies rose because the real estate market was showing signs of weakness. The property values, the market value has been dropping, and people are seeing their equity melt away.
Hmm.
So my theory is the mortgage delinquencies are not a direct correlation of the real estate market, but it's a matter of people trying to examine how the market is behaving and how much the lender can give them leeway. If they have equity, do you think they'll not borrow money from some friends, family, credit card, or pay it? Let's say somebody bought a home for 250,000 and now they are sitting at 500,000 home value.
Mm-hmm.
If their mortgage payment is due, do you think they'll somehow figure out a way to bring money to the table so that they are not going to go delinquent?
Absolutely, yeah. Last thing they want to
Absolutely,
do is
they'll
lose
bring
their
money
house.
from somewhere. Imagine
Right.
on the flip side, let's say they bought it for 250, the home price is now, let's say, 200. They'll have no motivation to really move forward and get the money and make the payment, especially more so if their job is in jeopardy or if their pay is not that high.
Right.
So it's like catch 22. We want lot of equity. As long as there is equity in the market, in their
Mm-hmm.
asset, people somehow figure out a way to make sure they make the monthly mortgage payment. If you look at the equity chart, like how much people have equity in their homes in the entire country, it's
Right.
astronomical. We might think so many people are going to have a mortgage on their house. Not true. In the last 6 months, if you look at how many people have put either cash complete or they have put substantial down payment because of inheritance or whatever reason they have, either they are making a lot of money in their business, it is through the roof. So a lot of people have money in this market, they have cash, they have the wherewithal to bring the money to the table. So having the chart of delinquencies, I think it's inconsequential because people are not going to be delinquent because they're sitting on a lot of equity. And
Exactly.
most people have a lot of equity in most part of the country.
Right. Anybody who bought in the last 5 years have tons of equity, period. Almost
Yeah.
30-40%. So let's look at the foreclosure chart. Same thing. If you look at the foreclosures compared to 2018, 2019, it was very low. And I know in 2008, you were there, I was there, I went through that hell in real estate. Hopefully, we'll never see it again in our lifetime. But, the foreclosure activity is low as well. It's pretty much zero. So when people say we want foreclosure, we want a crash, we want a bubble, and a lot of people are saying that, especially the buyers, so they can afford to buy because the prices will drop. But what they don't understand is, number one, it's not going to be a foreclosure according to the data. But here's the thing: if there's a foreclosure, if there's a recession, if there's a big tsunami of people losing jobs, let's say, Kiran, you're a buyer right now, and you make $80,000 and you can buy a $300,000 house, and you're saying, you know what, I'm going to wait till next year when the market crashes and the prices go to 250. But guess what are your chances that you're going to lose your job? Then you can buy a house. So I tell people, don't wait. I always say to people, to buyers especially, is that you buy when you are ready, willing, and able to buy. That means if you are ready to buy, that means, hey, you're ready to take the promotion, you're going to get promoted to Texas or wherever, you're ready to go. I'm willing to buy because it's been my dream. I waited 7 years to buy a house, but I'm ready to buy. And if you are able to buy, that means I have the 10% down or 3.5% FHA loan. If I'm buying a $400,000 house on an FHA, I need about $12,000 to $13,000, which I have. Ready, willing, and able to buy it. Doesn't matter if it's 5%, 6%, 7%. Buy it now. Because what if the prices drop and you lose a job? You're down to square one. And you never chase the market. And I've talked about two clocks, and I'm going to talk about those two clocks quickly so that people understand, especially buyers who are waiting. There are two clocks in real estate. One is the clock of your mortgage payment. Start your clock now. Doesn't matter if it's 6%, 7%. Yes, it matters, but in the long run, it doesn't really matter because you want to pay off that clock earlier. The second clock, which supersedes the mortgage clock, is that the day you buy your house, on average, if you look at the 40-year history, average home prices go up 4% on average. Of course, it'll be less in some cities, but on average at 4%. So even though, and I said, and I know a lot of people listening to this or who will listen say, what is it talking about? Buy at 6 or 7%. Here's why. Doesn't matter if you buy a house today, your house value is going to go up 4% every year for 30 years. So if you're thinking about waiting for a house to go to 280 and it's at $30,000, it's irrelevant because in 30 years, your house is going to double or triple or quadruple. So who cares about the $20,000 that you're waiting to pay? And the $20,000 in your mortgage payment is what? $2 a month payment. So yes, buyers are waiting for the price drop, but in the long run, it's not a great idea. Especially when chart shows there's no foreclosure coming, there's no major price drops. Why are they waiting?
Yeah, the buyers, it's very interesting. I would always compare the buyers ready to commit to buying a house is similar to finding the spouse. You find somebody, there is a good chance there is always somebody way better, maybe more handsome or more beautiful that you might run into down the road. But you already found somebody and you are able to see yourself living with that person. Same with houses. If you think you are able to afford something and if you see yourself being able to live there for the long term, then I would say commit to the house.
Right.
Don't expect the interest rates to drop. Hey, if the interest rates drop, it's a bonus. You can refinance and take advantage of it. If the market goes up, you can enjoy the fruits. If the market dips, don't panic and try to sell right away. We have seen time and again that market is not like this, it goes like that. And then if you are caught wherein you end up purchasing at the bottom, know and stay patient that it's going to bounce back. So all these are market fundamentals that people who've been in the industry for many years, they understand this. And for people who are trying to time it, it's just not possible because the macro factors affecting the home prices are just too many. Not just unemployment, the interest rates. You're also looking at the economy in the local area and what the incentives that the government might throw in to boost the real estate market. So there is just too many things that we don't control. So that's why I tell the buyers, hey, if you're able to afford the payment and if you see yourself living in there, commit to it. Just like finding a spouse, there could always be a better one down the road, but who knows?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Great analogy. And I won't say much on that, but I totally get your point. And I hope the buyers understand. And in this case, sellers too, because sellers become buyers. So if I'm selling my house in California because it's too expensive, property tax is too high, and I want to move to Phoenix, or I'd probably end up in Sedona. That's my dream area, but even that's expensive. But I can buy a 2-bedroom condo. I have a big house right now, but I can move into a condo. So me as a seller becomes a buyer. So that's a good point that you gave. But let's turn the tables around and let's look at this chart. And I want to discuss on this. So let's look at the rent prices. As you know, as the home prices go up, rent prices go up. They're hand in hand, right? If you look at the rental rates in 2019 or pre 2019, the average rent, of course, this is in USA, was $1,400. Right now, it's been the highest, I would say, in history. 2024, almost in June, it's almost $2,000. This is nationwide. In Orange County, where I live, a 2 bedrooms, 2 bath condo, and I'm talking condo, not a house, is $2,500 a month. This is ridiculous rent. So if I'm a buyer, and I'm sure this is an average, but if I'm a buyer, I live in Orange County, but let's say I'm a buyer living in a metro area, I'm probably paying for a 2 or 3 bedroom house or something, 3,000 a month. If I'm a buyer, here's how the buyers have to think. If I wait 2 years and pay 3,000 a month rent, which is $36,000 per year, in 2 years, that's $72,000. Now, Kiran, as you know, the number one challenge for home buyer is coming up with the down payment, right? But by renting, you just blew $72,000 of down payment, and you're not getting any tax write-off. You're not getting any tax advantages. You're not getting appreciation. Guess what you're doing when you rent? And of course, don't take it harshly, but I'm trying to make a point. When you rent, you are paying a mortgage payment. It's just not your mortgage payment. So we keep harping, you buy when you are ready, willing, able to buy, because every time you rent, number one thing is you're blowing your down payment and you're getting advantages. So if somebody keeps saying that I'm going to wait for the prices to drop again, how would you factor the rent and purchase price, Kiran?
Yeah, the rent is very tricky. There is a big case on why somebody should rent. There is a lot of millennials who are of the opinion and belief that you buying a house is going to tie you down to the area and tie you down to the profession, while you have a dream of moving around, traveling a lot. So there is a case on some people wherein for them renting might make sense, but financially speaking, if you think that you will be in a particular area for 2 years, like Mike said, if you do the calculation and if you are looking at the opportunity cost of what the real estate might appreciate in that area, or there is a chance it might depreciate and 2 years might be a very small horizon for that area. You have to do the analysis on that and then figure out
Mhm.
if renting makes sense or purchasing. But overall, I agree with the sentiment that Mike said, wherein there is appreciation over a period of time. You buy real estate at the right place, it's going to appreciate and you will be thankful that you did, because the best time to plant a tree was 25 years ago. You
Yeah,
can't go back and then you cannot feel that, oh, I wish I bought a house then. So
right.
that's why you I mean, I would say anybody who is considering renting for the freedom, they also have to factor in the opportunity cost of not buying a house. You might be surprised and you have to be prepared. And if you understand, acknowledge and understand the numbers of it and you're okay with it, then it's fine. But don't just decide that you want to rent without looking at the numbers, is my suggestion to everybody who is on the fence whether to buy or not.
Right, right. Okay, got it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And like I said, if you're renting, we don't say don't rent. I'm just trying to make a point here and look at the numbers. I'm a numbers guy, and home buying is all about numbers, because first of all, you have to have down payment. That's a number. You must qualify. That's a number. Your debt ratio has to be fine. That's a number. So buying a house is a numbers game. Of course, it's an emotional game. It's a dream. But if your numbers don't work, your income, your debt ratio, your interest rate, etc., you're not going to buy. So at the end of the day, buying a house is a numbers game, and hope the numbers work for you. uh, but it seems like we've been very negative, Kiran, about talking about numbers and all that. But I'm going to talk up a little bit, turn the tables, and acknowledge, number one, that collapse is coming. We just don't know when. Could be 6 months, could be 2 years, could be 6 years. But let's turn the tables and talk about these renters or people who cannot afford in California or Miami or New York or Bay Area, or metro areas. I'm going to talk about 5 cities that are most affordable, and just kind of touch on it and also give you the prices. This was on a video I did last week. If you want to watch that video, it's on my channel. The video is called The Collapse. So I'm going to talk about the 5 cities nationwide where it's most affordable, starting from the top. The first one was Minnesota. The medium home price there is $169,000. And by the way, this is not just based on the home price. Affordability means, will you make money? How much is your transportation, your utilities, your other cost in that city, the culture, the transportation, all that. So number one was Minnesota at $169,000. The second one was Huntsville, Alabama, which was the average, not the average, the medium home price there was $245,000. The third one is Wichita, Kansas. The medium home price is $173,000. And the next one was Springfield, Missouri, at home price medium. And I can't believe this is $157,000. Pretty good price for somebody who doesn't want to rent, want to be able to afford it. Hopefully they can find a job there or have a relocation. Or if you're remote workers, a lot of people work remotely. That's a great area to move. Of course, I'm not sure on the weather and all that. So if I was moving, I would check weather first thing because I don't like cold. Hopefully it's not too cold over there. And then the next one was Davenport, Iowa, where the medium home price was $230,000. So when you look at these prices, and if you were a buyer or renting right now, Kiran, what you think of not going to these cities, but if you have these options, what would you think? As far as thinking about moving there or a place similar to this.
Yeah, it reminds me of two things, right? Newton's law, wherein it talks about inertia. Once you know a place and then you're familiar with it, you just continue to stay there. You just struggle, you go through your job, your bills, you continue to live there because your family always lived there. That's the area that you know. That is going to kill you. Second thing that's going to kill you is if you're like an ostrich sticking your head in the sand and think that this is the world and you tend to ignore all the statistics, that is going to also impact you. My opinion is everybody should open up their mind and should not be scared of migrating to a different part of the country or different part of the world for that matter. The reason for that is every area has some beauty that you might like and you have to assess it. For example, a lot of people think Arizona is extremely hot and it's a desert. But then people who moved here from California and New York, they tell me that we never thought that the peak heat is only for 6 7 weeks. Rest of the time, it's beautiful. So they only focus on when the weather is the worst because every part of the world has some time or a time window wherein the weather is bad. You just don't look at weather as a piece. You have to look at the big picture of everything. What are the employment opportunities? What are the events that they have there? What are the opportunities wherein you can start a business there? Of course, weather is a part, but then you have to analyze which month or how many weeks of the year is it the worst. And when you compare that to what you're enduring right now, you might be shocked that it might be the same. Like, for example, I went to my cousin's place in Bay Area. Bay Area is supposed to have excellent weather. I was there during Christmas time, and then it was freezing in the sense it was like frigid temperatures in the Bay Area. I
Right.
just couldn't believe that Bay Area can get that cold. Just hearing the hype that okay, it's very beautiful, the climate is beautiful. While I came back to Arizona, I loved having beautiful sunshine even
Mhm.
during winter. So we have to just analyze and see what makes sense. Every part of the town, every part of the country has some weeks wherein the temperatures are frigid. You have to compare that affordability and how much your income potential is there in that area, and then you make the decision. I wouldn't be scared about moving anywhere else from where you are. I would always explore and be open for that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and in the last few years, and I guess COVID, maybe we want to thank COVID for a little bit. It wasn't a good thing, but if you look on the positive side, we always look on the positive side. What COVID did was brought in remote work, the Zoom thing, like what we're doing live, right? We don't have to be in a hall, in a convention center. We're doing at home. So one of the good things that COVID did is there's remote work. So especially for people who can work remotely, this is a great thing, right? Isn't that good? Because I know a lot of people work remotely. I know some people moved to Palm Springs, which is just 2 hours from here, from Orange County, because $1 million house, which they could afford, they did not buy it, but they bought an $800,000 home in Palm Springs, which was almost double the size and brand new, and they love it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, they could have moved to Phoenix, but they wanted to stay in California. Um, but one of the things I want to bring about, since you mentioned, about the rental thing and theory that you brought in, if you can mention, so that what you think as a broker and in your experience, what are the two things that people stop most from moving out of the area? And what are the two things you should not let stop you? Can you elaborate on that? Because I may be thinking about moving, but I'm going to say, hey, as long as my kids are here, I'm not going to move.
Yeah,
But,
one thing is familiarity and family. Actually, it kind of stalls your ability to or your intent to move. And if you think about it, there is a lot of effort that takes to convince your family that it's okay for you to move. So a
right.
lot of people get into this inertia wherein they don't want to deal with convincing somebody, so they keep on living. So I
Mhm.
feel that's the number one reason. The second reason is they are able to get by. They are able to get by with the payments. They are not willing to bring in a new surprise element into their life at the stage that they are in, so they don't want to commit for it. So those are the two reasons I feel why people don't move. And the reason people should move is they might be missing out on a lot of good things that the other places offer that the current place might not offer. Like for example, I'm sitting here in Arizona. I've been here for a long time, but before that I was in India. Had I not decided to move from India to here, I would have missed out on the good life that I'm having right now. So there is also a chance that there is something else that I'm missing out by just sitting in Arizona. So for me to explore is something that I would highly encourage people do. And also I would also like to have a plan and then work towards the plan if you want to really explore some other area, especially if you want to retire somewhere or if you want to explore new opportunities. I would try to do that.
Right. Okay. Yeah, because it's sad to hear that a lot of people want to move. Um, is there a certain time frame that people need to think about moving, or what are one or two things that they should think about if they are thinking about moving and they're hesitant? What should they look ahead and not look at my, you mentioned inertia and my habits and my comfort? What are the two things I may want to let go or to look forward to when I do move to Texas? Or like I mentioned earlier, I don't like cold. I'll never move to Chicago because I think, hey, it's too cold. So for guys like me, whether it's weather or it's my family or letting go of my drinking buddies or golf buddies, how should I think about making me moves that takes me away from my current status, my current weight on my shoulder?
Yeah, yeah. The best thing is first you have to take a vacation to go to that place. I
Okay.
see most of the people who moved, the families that we work with, they are the people who actually came here, rented something, and they loved it, and then they went back and decided that they want to move to Arizona. A lot of people did that, especially during the retirement years. Before you are at a place wherein you are unable to move from your chair, it's better that you explore all the opportunities that are out there to retire.
Mhm.
Retirement, there are some states wherein the taxes are low. People are moving away from California. So if you want to sell your house, you can have Mike sell the house there, and then we can help you buy in Arizona. So a setup like that will be perfect, wherein the taxes are lower in states like Arizona and Florida. You also
Right.
have to explore the fact that okay, weather-wise, are you okay to take a lot of humidity, or would you like dry heat? So all those factors plus mainly affordability. You want the dollar to go the maximum, so you have to count that also. I would say the
Right.
life stages, it will be difficult for people in their middle age to move, to
Hmm.
pack up and move when they have kids going to school. So it's a lot more convincing. So the ideal time to move is when you are very young, before you start your career, or just before you are ready to retire, so that you are
Right. Right.
preparing where to settle down.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's a big move, very big move, very big change. What about when it comes to emotional things? Because people buy because of emotion, right? Because they want to feel better, they want to feel safe, they want to get richer, and real estate, no better way than becoming rich is by owning a home. You buy a house today in California for $900,000 average price. I can assure you with absolute certainty that in 20, 30 years, that house will be worth $2 million or more. Absolute certainty, I can say, based on history. I bought my house 25 years ago. It has more than quadrupled, more
Wow.
than that. And I know that that much money, if I was working 9 to 5 job, I would not been able to save, because I mentioned earlier, you have a guaranteed return of 4% per year. And that's an average. In California, in Orange County, I would say it's 6 or 7% average rate. I sold a house, by the way, just to let you know, I sold a house half a mile from here to very good clients of mine for 1.43 2 years ago. They just called me on Thursday, 2 days ago, and said, we have to move. They want to move because they're into other kind of businesses, and they're moving because they have to move. Nothing bad, good thing. And guess what the comps were on the house? It was 1.65. In 2 years, he said, Mike, I want net 1.6. And I said, you got it. I'm going to list that house for 1.67. That was the comp. I sold it for 1.42. They're going to make $200,000 in 2 years living in the house, enjoying, and they're going to make $200,000. So the appreciation is ridiculous in Orange County. It's great in California. And if you're a home buyer, especially if you're a home buyer, you cannot go wrong buying a house. And again, if medium home price is 430, and if you're waiting for it to buy it at 400,000, or you're waiting for the interest rate to drop to 5%, that's not a right calculation, in my opinion. Think long term. And that's what I have to say. And of course, we're getting off track here a little bit. I hope not, but I think we're trying to drive a point that my point is, don't wait for a recession, don't wait for a collapse, don't wait for interest rate to drop, don't wait for prices to drop. uh, there is no magic wand. Who are you as a buyer? I don't know when it's going to happen. Who are you as a buyer to know all those five things? What method, what statistics, what research have you done? And I'm trying to be nice, you're not being mean here, to that's going to happen. And what if it doesn't happen? And that's what happened to some of my buddies. Good buddies haven't bought since 2021, and now they are crying, literally crying, because the house in California that was at 700,000 in 2021 is at 1.1 now, and they can buy. And that's the point I'm driving across, is that you buy when you are ready, willing, able to buy. Don't wait for the collapse. Don't wait, because things are going to happen.
Yes, Mike, I agree with lot of what you said. I mean, the past performance is not a guarantee of future performance, but at the same time, you have to look at the way the inflation is going, the way the opportunities are coming. You want to be in an area where there is economy is good and there is a healthy supply of buyers. So that's where you want to buy. And when you are ready, you should just jump in.
Exactly. Correct. Okay. So let's go back to the original topic where we were talking about the collapse, or is there a collapse? And we're ending this session in a few minutes. So I wanted to see, in your opinion, Kiran, and based on what's happening, buyers in Phoenix are different than ones in California. What would couple of things you would say to sellers, and what's a few things you would tell to the buyers anticipating maybe buying in a year or selling in a year or next 6 months? What are some of the things they have to think about that they did not have to think 2 or 3 years ago? Just some nuggets you can give them as
So,
we end this.
for sellers, this is what I'm going to tell. The inventory is going up, the buyers are holding still. So you have to price your home right and you have to be extremely patient. You have to be patient for the right buyer to come. It's going to take you longer than what it used to take no, just a few months ago.
Mhm.
For the buyers, this is a great opportunity for you to get in the market. You have lot of inventory in hand. You can negotiate the price. I wouldn't wait for the interest rates to drop, because if the interest rates drop, then there'll be a lot more buyer competition. Then you might be really competing with other buyers unnecessarily. So this is the time for you to jump in.
So let me interrupt on there. So let's say I'm a buyer and you said, hey, Mike, you're a buyer. I want you to buy a house. Why don't you buy a house? I'm going to say, look, based on my income, I could afford a $400,000 house last year. And I didn't like anything for $400,000. But now the rate went to 7%. So my lender told me now you can only afford a $350,000 house, which is exactly I don't want. I couldn't find a house that I like for $400,000. Now I like something for $350,000. That's not going to happen. What would you tell me? Because that's what's stopping people from buying, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So it's very hard to time the market. That's why I would say you look at the market right now, know that there is less competition right now. Jump in and buy. If you're unable to afford in the areas that you want to be in, I would just extend the range and try to just slightly go out of the vicinity of where you were originally fantasizing to live in, and then be flexible. Then only then you can fit the budget to what you want.
Okay. And the other thing, if I can add to that, is that let's say you don't want to move out of the area because you own a business, you own a donut shop, you have to be at the donut shop at 3 o'clock in the morning, or you're a nurse or a doctor and you can't move away. And if you cannot buy let's say in California, you cannot, or in Orange County, you cannot buy $1 million home. So what I tell buyers, and I did a video on my other channel, is that if you cannot find a house in your price range, you have to be flexible. You wanted a 3 bedroom, you wanted a family room, you wanted a yard, you wanted a pool, you wanted a view. Hey, give up something, right? Maybe you want to give up the pool, or maybe instead of a 1,800 square feet home, buy something 1,500. Or if you can buy a house, buy a townhouse, stay in it for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years, and then move. When I bought my house back in 1989, I could only buy a house for $120,000. That was my max, and that's what I bought. I bought a 2 bedroom, 1 bath house. After 5, 6, 7 years, I saved more. I sold that and bought a house, and I'm still here. So sacrifice is like anything else. Going back to your point, and I don't know if I should go there because it's a touchy subject. When you get married to somebody, once you get married, stay with the married and don't regret what you got. So when you buy a house and you wanted a 4 bedroom, but you buying it for 3 bedrooms, stick around for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, adjust to it. And when the market changes, your financial situation changes, maybe you can add a room or sell it and buy another house. That's the process of home buying. Just because you buy one house doesn't mean you're going to keep it for 30, 40 years. Most home buyers move at least 2 or 3 or 4 times in their lifestyle. Is that a valid way of thinking as well?
Yes, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. You are not going to be buying a dream house now. The dream house now will not become a dream again. So you'll have a new dream in 5 years. So you'll be buying a new dream house then, and your dream changes again in another 5 to 7 years. So don't try to buy the dream house and hit a jackpot from the get go. Just go with what you can afford and keep on making and building your American dream.
Right. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Okay. Well, that I think we'll end this session. Any last things you want to mention regarding our topic, Kiran, and then we'll call it a day.
I loved having this discussion. I also do commercial loans. And for the commercial loans, I'm seeing that the commercial market is heading for a big loan reset. People who have gotten mortgages during the COVID time, the low interest rate, now all commercial loans, most of them are 5 year, 3 year reset. So they're all resetting right now between now and 2028. So you see big shift in commercial real estate market. So for those people who are looking to purchase in the commercial sector, I think there'll be a lot of opportunities for them. There'll be sellers who want to just offload and then move on. The sellers built a lot of equity, so they might be just thinking to exit. So it might be a good opportunity for people. So I
Mhm.
want to just throw it out there.
Okay. Well, now that you mentioned commercial, I want to touch on it if you have a few more minutes. It's very important point that you touched. What happened in 2008? You were there, I was there, a lot of people were there. The residential market caused an issue with the commercial market as well, correct? Because a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of lost their businesses, and what affects the residential market affects drastically to the commercial market. What I'm seeing, and I'm no expert in commercial statistics and data, but what I'm seeing, at least in California, Bay Area, a lot of the hotels closed, big hotels, 200 million, 50 million of course, that homeless issues, the loan reset issues. So do you feel, coming around again, talking about the recession and the collapse, do you feel that housing market, as we discussed, seems very strong? Do you feel the commercial collapse may cause a residential collapse? Or put it the other way, do you see a commercial collapse first or the residential first?
I'm not seeing commercial collapse because all these businesses have lot of cash, and then they also have lot of equity in their real estate. So there is no desperate seller in commercial. They'll probably sell it for cheaper than what the market is, but they all are sitting on lot of equity already because the commercial assets have appreciated quite a bit in the last 5 years.
Right,
So even in commercial, I wouldn't expect like a big meltdown in most of the commercial. Now
right,
there is high-rise office buildings. Some of them are going through a lot of adjustment in San Francisco and such. But working from home is slowly phasing out also. So those offices will be in high demand in the next few years. So everything is coming back to normal. I don't think commercial is going to crash necessarily, but there might be some pockets of opportunity here and there.
right. What I'm hearing, two things about commercial, and that's why I wanted to continue a little bit more. We talked about remote working. A lot of people are not going to offices. So I don't know about San Francisco, but I know that in LA, Riverside County, Orange County, where I'm at, an hours from drive, there's a lot of office vacancies because obviously people are working from home. There's a lot of restaurants closing. And we heard in California, I don't know if you heard, but a lot of the big chains are closing. A lot of the chain or franchises are closing their restaurants because of the new wage rules and whatever the reason is. I don't know. They're coming. So that's a big impact. When you talk about, I don't know. I don't want to mention anything because I don't want to be wrong, but there's at least 15 big chains of restaurants closing anywhere from 20 to 50 locations each. Right. So that's going to be a big impact. A lot of restaurants are closing. A lot of office are vacancies. How are the landlords? Even they have the equity. Having equity is one thing,
Cash
but
flow.
making those 15,000, 20,000, 30,000 a month payment is another thing. So how are they coping with that? Because if I have a high rise building and I have, let's say, 50, 60,000 a month payment, yes, I have equity, but where am I going to get that 50,000 a month payment, especially when my rent has dried up?
Yeah, that will be an interesting cash flow issue that a lot of commercial owners, the landlords, are going to face. And that is where I said the opportunities are going to exactly land up for new investors to pitch in and pick up those properties. So these sellers, the commercial landlords, are not selling it for a loss. They already made good money on it. They have good equity that they are sitting on, but their problem is the cash flow. They are unable to refinance it. So those are the properties that will come. And in areas like California, that's why we are seeing a lot of migration to other states like Arizona and Texas. So people who have experience of living in a big city and seeing how the commercial is going to grow, you have to bring that expertise to Arizona, and then you have an opportunity to start where you probably might think that you missed a boat there, because economies here are building. So that's why you have to migrate out from those areas where the values are hyperinflated, so as to speak in theory. So
Right.
new states are a great opportunity for those who have gone through it.
Right. Correct. Right. Okay. Well, on that point, just to remind you, for those who are watching now and who will watch later, if you do need a local realtor, whether it's in Phoenix or Orange County or Minnesota, Iowa, we have a database so we can refer you. So do hit us up on that. And I wanted to thank Kiran for being my guest. I will put your YouTube channel or your website in our description. So if you're looking and you want to contact Kiran, feel free to do so. And I wanted to take a time to thank you for watching. Hopefully, you'll come back next month or next Monday. I do this every Monday at 2 o'clock. And if you have any questions or comments, please put them below. And we want to thank you again. And thanks again, Kiran, for watching.
Mike, thank you again for having me.
Okay. Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.